Remember to seize the moment.
This is Caesar's podcast. Welcome, everyone.
All right, Carlito, welcome
Wait.
to the show, man. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here and honored to be number one.
Yeah, man, I was really excited to have you on the show. I mean, every time I'm checking you out online or we're having a chat, you're always doing something new and it's very motivating. I mean, simple example, you just put up a post of a small little complex that you did, some bar muscle ups, pull-ups and dips. And I was like, okay, shit, like that looks hard. I want to do it. And I still have to send you the video, but it was really flipping hard. I couldn't get through all the pull-ups. But long story short, I mean, you're a very motivating person. So I'm hoping that through this show, we can help motivate other people, whether it's through their fitness, their career, or whatever it is, because you've inspired me. So yeah, let's get started, man.
Thank you. Yeah, let's do this.
All right. So for those of us that don't know you, why don't you start off with like a bit of an intro? Tell us, who you are and sort of what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Carlos. Everyone or a lot of people in the fitness industry call me Carlito. That just became a bit of a nickname through the years. I'm a calisthenics trainer, focusing on bodyweight training, and I'm an online trainer. Most of what I do is online. I train most of my clients online, and I'm also the founder of Calisthenics Canada, which is the sort of body that regulates everything that has to do with calisthenics in Canada, from competitions, meetups, workshops, and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, man. Very exciting things. You're part of a lot of great things. And when did your journey start? Like, when did you start getting into calisthenics?
Yeah, I got into calisthenics about 8 years ago now. I've always been active. I've always been into sports. Tennis and soccer were kind of like my thing growing up. But I went through pretty serious injuries in my ACLs that just kind of put me out of commission when it comes to sports and athletics. So I was doing physio, and a lot of it was body weight training stuff. I wanted to find a way to still be fit while not being able to run, for example, or to have any sort of contact or things that would affect my knee. And I landed somehow at the gym. And then a few months later, I was in an exchange program in LA. And LA is the mecca.
Where were you at the time? Like, so when you were having these injuries, were you based out of Toronto or were you still in Latin America, or where were you?
Yeah, no, so that was 8 years ago. I came to Canada 13 years ago.
Okay.
So I was already here. And I was in school. I was in school for environmental design. And my third year, I had an exchange program in LA. And in LA is where everything kind of happens. When it comes to fitness, healthy lifestyle, like they're very sort of ahead of the game when it comes to all of that. And LA in itself is such a big hub for calisthenics and bodyweight training. I mean, you have Venice Beach, you have Santa Monica, you have like the whole coast that in the weather that kind of gives opportunity for that. And I met people who did calisthenics and instantly fell in love with it.
Nice.
Being able to stay fit, hang out with people, listening to music, being outside, being by the beach, like all that kind of felt very attractive to me as a community, as an activity. And that was just kind of like what drew me into it. And then when I started seeing kind of changes in my body, and I was like, ooh, okay, like my chest is looking bigger, like I'm starting to see abs, like all that kind of stuff. I was like, wow,
nice.
this is kind of cool. And I think naturally I did have a little bit of easiness into getting into calisthenics for whatever reason, maybe my background in swimming or something like that. And from there, it was just, I fell in love. When I came back to Canada, I just wanted to like keep recreating what I saw there. And so I started looking for like-minded people, and that's kind of how everything got started.
That's really cool, man. I mean, it's funny you bring that up. Like in hindsight, like after you said, yeah, LA is kind of like the mecca of fitness and calisthenics, for example. I think back to myself as like a youth and starting my fitness journey and Googling videos and YouTube or whatever. And yeah, I mean, you see people in Venice, thinking back, I see people in Venice Beach doing pull-ups, doing a bunch of gymnastics movements and basically calisthenics, right? And back then I didn't know what it was, but I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. I might try that at the gym. So in hindsight, it's pretty cool. And how did you, so after that experience, so you went to LA, you came across this thing, you fell in love with it, you brought it back to Toronto. What was it like in Toronto? Like, were there already people in the industry? Did you find that there were some, or like, what did you find when you came back to
Yeah.
Toronto with all this knowledge?
Well, in comparison, it was nothing. Like there was just like, maybe three or four other people that I found that kind of were interested in it. And people that had been doing it already for a few years had only been like maybe two or three other people. And we just kind of like all sort of blended into a big group, and we started training together, and I think that just kind of attracted more people. I think
Mhm.
naturally the city started to also put a little bit more backing into these sort of parks and sort of outdoor activities in general. And so in the last like maybe 3 or 4 years, we've seen a big growth in just the infrastructure of calisthenics parks and all that. But back then, like it was very, very raw. Like I was training at a kids park. We would train at Little Norway Park with like some really old rusty bars. Like it was pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean that's usually how it is at the beginning of anything, or at the birth of something is always very, very
Yeah.
difficult. And I mean, I personally think it's amazing. I'm not sure how you feel about it, but I think it's really amazing that you were able to get something that was so small at the time and then grow it into what it is today. Because I can relate to that. I mean, I remember walking or biking across Lakeshore, years ago, and there was nothing there. A few benches maybe, and then fast forward to like recently, now I bike and I walk down. There's pull-up bars. There's little calisthenics parks, you call them, right? Where for people to take a break from their run, take a break from their bike ride, just jump there and do a few pull-ups or whatever it is. And something you mentioned, like community, right? I feel like that's something that really motivates people, is community,
100%.
bringing people together and saying, "Hey, man, I love this. You love this. Cool. Let's do it together." And I feel like that's something that I'll be honest, I took it for granted during this whole lockdown period. It's pretty easy for me to like, lift heavy things, but when it came to doing like cardio, for example, without community, man, I start to fall apart. So I'm really happy that you're able to bring some people together and build that community. I mean, that being said, you mentioned that you are into, or that your training is mainly focused online, and this was before lockdown as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I had been a personal trainer for a long time before, for about 4 years, doing one-on-one training in person, and then lots of classes. But then I felt like I had a bit of a cap to that, the amount of clients that I could have, the amount of people that I could service, the amount of energy that I could give to everyone,
Hmm.
and the amount of knowledge that I could kind of show, especially in something so niche as calisthenics. I mean, my online training goes a little bit beyond just calisthenics, but that was something that I always wanted to do. And being present in social media for the time I started pretty much calisthenics till now has kind of developed like a larger community than just the local one, where people from outside the local community ask me if I could be their trainer, or ask me if I offer classes somewhere else, or virtual ways to connect. And so that had been sort of like a project of mine for the past like you know three like the last 2 3 years.
Nice. And did you
Yeah.
find that the lockdown like affected it at all? Like, did you have more of a demand, less of a demand, or like how did that affect your sort of online fitness career?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me personally, it helped me sort of focus a little bit more directly into what is it that people need
Hmm.
when it comes to online training. I think that for people in general, it kind of opened up their eyes to a new method and a new way of doing things. And so it has been um, good for my online training being in lockdown, because I'm able to sort of be that support system, or that person that is able to give someone a solution, or give someone that stress relief, or give
Yeah.
someone that support. And I think that as trainers, we go a little bit beyond just the physical side of things and just like the health side of things. But nowadays it's been so just more full-fledged, in the sense that like we offer that sort of mental wellness, we offer that support, we offer um that extra push, not just for fitness, but for other aspects of life. And I think that during this time, a lot of my clients felt really appreciative to have me as their coach, and have me be able to guide them through this time where, like, before they were being able to go into a gym and pick a few weights, and all of a sudden we had to change all their programming to something
Yeah.
completely different, right? So I did get a really good response from it, and I think it has been a great opportunity to show that there are many faces to this fitness industry and many ways in which to approach it,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think it's a good thing in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I feel like everyone was affected differently, and lockdown. It just was from one day to the next. I remember I went like when I started to sense, I'm like, oh, things are getting kind of weird. I think I'm gonna go to the fitness store and grab some dumbbells. That was maybe a week before lockdown, and then like the week of lockdown, everything sold out. That was one of the biggest things that as a physiotherapist, patients would tell me, man, I can't get my hands on dumbbells. Like a pair of
Yeah,
25s is like $90, $190, like just some ridiculous price. And I'm just like, oh man, I got
that's
lucky with that.
crazy.
But yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool, man. I feel like a lot of people appreciate that because, like I said, motivation for me was the biggest thing that kind of went down when it came to the lockdown. So it's good to have people like you around to help motivate us. You mentioned something about how like fitness can kind of trickle down into other aspects of life, right? And I agree with you, because fitness has taught me a lot. But can you like elaborate on that? Like, what do you mean, and how do you find that fitness can maybe help in other aspects of life?
yeah. Well, I mean, like I said before, when I started fitness, it was just more like, hey, I want to look a different way. I want to be able
Yeah,
to look fit, to have muscles, to have abs, and all that kind of stuff. And that was kind of
yeah,
like the initial thing, or I want to be able to do this skill. But I soon realized too that when you are doing things that are challenging physically, that kind of builds up sort of your mentality about it as well. And it's such a good way to kind of think about life and fitness as sort of parallels in that way. When you are having issues, whether it is with an injury, with a very challenging workout, with a very challenging weight, with a PR that you haven't been able to smash, with like certain things that you kind of go in your fitness journey, with the weight that you want to reach, like all those things, I think we can kind of relate it back to life, and put ourselves in situations, whether it is the relationship issues, or financial situations, or professional dilemmas, and all that kind of stuff. I think it can bring us back and be like, man, if I'm able to do 20 muscle ups, I'm not going to be able to go to this job interview and crush it. Come on, So like I try to use fitness like that,
yeah.
very, very sporadically and spontaneously in my day to day, when I feel demotivated to do something, or when I feel like I'm losing grip of certain things that I know are important for me. So, and I tie them back to fitness. I'm like, come on, man. You remember that day you were trying to run 10K and you push? Come on, you can do this. And if you can do this, you can do this with this work project, or you
Yeah.
can do this with whatever. So I think there are a lot of things in that fitness can teach you, that if you sort of strip away the actual action of fitness, but what it means, and what sort of patterns and habits of thinking it creates in you.
Yeah.
um I think you can apply them in so many other ways.
Yeah. 100%, man. I like that. The mindset is, it's so important when it comes to fitness, and that's something that I learned too along the way is sort of falling in love with being a beginner. When I was
Yes.
younger, I'd be like, I just want to be an expert. I just want to be really good at something. And then somehow reach this land of no obstacles, where I'm just on the beach, I'm just chilling, life's a breeze. And then as I got older, and I started to venture into other aspects of fitness, one being, CrossFit, and calisthenics, I guess, is part of that, and gymnastics and whatnot. You know, when I went into it, I looked fit. You'd look at me and be like, oh yeah, this guy's got, he's got some arms, he's got some shoulders, whatever, cool. And then I'd show up to the gym and they'd be like, oh, we're gonna do muscle ups today on the rings. And I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. Awesome. I've always wanted to do a muscle up, and I'd one on the rings and I couldn't do one, you know. And then I look around and, people of all different shapes, sizes, ages, heights, some of them could do it. And I'm just like, whoa, like that person doesn't look fit, but they could do it. I can't do it. And instead of being demoralized, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna have to work on this thing. And I, methodically went from doing one to two to three and so on. And it was just falling in love with the whole journey. You know what I mean? And I feel
Yes.
like it's so cliche, but the older I get, the more I realize that cliches tend to be like just the truth.
Yeah.
And like you said, man, like you have to just fall in love with the struggle and understand, man, if I can set my mind to something, I can probably get it done. So yeah, I
Yeah.
I love that. I
I love that.
totally 100% agree with you, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no. It's funny how that works, honestly,
yeah.
because you don't realize and how that, like, yes, the journey and the beginner mindset and sort of always trying to, like, not be content with what you think
Mhm,
is
mhm.
super important. And I mean, I think fitness has just kind of sort of snowballed into so many other things in my life, my personal development, the way I talk to people, the way that I present myself, the way that I um, interact with other people, and it's just so multifaceted.
100%, man. Something else you mentioned and we kind of briefly talked about was sort of where you lived or where you grew up. So you
Yeah,
said 13 years ago, you've been in Toronto or Canada for 13 years, right?
yeah,
Has,
yeah.
has it always been
13.
in Toronto?
No, when we first landed here, we landed in 2007 from Venezuela, straight from Venezuela. We came to Mississauga first.
Okay.
And then I've been in downtown and in Toronto for the last 5, 6 years now.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, that part of sort of independentizing myself, is that a word?
I don't know.
Becoming
Independentizing.
independent, you know what I mean? Like living in a big city, starting my own business, kind of like venturing
Yeah.
into just kind of the entrepreneurial world and all that, has been pretty much since I have been in Toronto. So yeah, about
Nice.
6 years ago.
Nice. And you came with your family, right? To
Yes.
Canada? And what was that
Yeah.
experience like? Like, do you remember, like, how old were you at that time when your family decided to make the change?
It was interesting, man. I was 17.
Okay.
So I feel like I was old enough and mature enough to understand a decision like that and the reasoning behind it. What I didn't understand was was really the why. You know what I mean? Like, yes,
Yeah.
we have to go because we want a better future. We want to not have to deal with certain things that we were dealing back home and everything, politically, socially, economically, in terms of the situation and how
Yeah.
unstable it was. Um, but but also I was like, okay, but that's my country. That's where I'm
Yeah.
at. That's where I'm from. That's what I know. That's all I know. So I mean, you have this idea of Canada back home, very ignorant of, it's just igloos
Mhm.
and snow and that's all you know. And I got here in the middle of the summer and I was like, this doesn't make sense. But I mean, it was a really tough experience. It still kind of is at times when I realize that I've grown 13 years without the family by my side, without being able to meet some cousins, without being able to see my grandma every day. And those things, they don't hit your day to day maybe, but they're always kind of lingering in the back of your mind. But
Yeah.
the
100%.
transition itself, yeah, the transition itself of just coming here wasn't easy. All you have is 10 suitcases and that's about it.
Yeah.
It was a process. It took a lot of patience, understanding, and sort of going with the flow, and try not to resist what was going on.
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like always I've been like a very adaptable person, and
Yeah.
that sort of character of mine has played a huge role in me being able to sort of kind of immerse myself in a different language and a different culture and a different weather and just take the best out of it. So
Nice. Did you
yeah,
know English when you came here or no?
I knew English. I mean, it wasn't nearly as good as it is right now, but I got thrown into high school doing grade 11 physics and grade 11 math and stuff, and I kind of had to pick it up
Yeah.
really quick or else type
Fuck,
thing.
man. I can't even imagine
So
that, dude.
yeah, no, I'm lucky that I had a very good foundation.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to English, and that really helped me hugely. So, you know, for anyone who who is wondering whether having one or two languages is good or not, if you have the option of learning another language because your parents talk to you in a different language, or because you have a grandma or whatever that speaks in a different language, I highly recommend. It doesn't matter which
Yeah.
one, just
100%
keep,
agree, man. I
don't
feel
lose
so
it.
lucky. I feel so lucky that my parents spoke to me in Spanish, when I was young,
Yeah.
and it just stuck with me.
And do your parents know any English when they came here?
My dad knew English because he was in the military, so he's a very strict guy, right? I love him to
Oh,
death, but
love it.
super strict. He knew English really well. My mom actually didn't know English, and there was a whole thing, with again, we don't need to get too much into the details of our cultures, but I think the Latin American culture is very sexist, and it's kind of way behind in its time compared to like North America, for example. So my mom got a lot of push in terms of, oh, why do you want to learn English? Like, why do you want to have a life kind of thing? You should kind of just stay at home and be like the housewife kind of thing. And eventually she did learn English, but yeah, my parents did know English. It was just the kids who didn't really speak it, to be honest. But we were all young. I was 6. My older sister was, I believe she was 9 at the time, or 8 at the time. And my youngest sister, she wasn't even born. She was born in the States, actually, which is a pretty
Oh.
crazy story. So she's actually, yeah, she's actually an American born person. Yeah, it's very interesting stuff.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this one picture that I saw online. I posted it for the I posted it for the promotion for the episode. There's a picture of you. I'm not sure how old you are. Do you know what picture I'm talking about? It's like a transformation picture. It's you. You're on a beach. You're a very, very thin guy, and then there's a picture of you flexing, and
Yeah,
you've probably
yeah,
gained maybe like, I don't know. It looks like 20 pounds of muscle. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, like how old were you in the first picture?
So in the first picture, that was 2000, it must have been 2013. So I was probably 23 or so. That was when I was in LA. It was right before
Oh
I left
shit!
LA. So I was actually even skinnier when I first got there. I was there for 5 months, and that was just like
Wow.
more towards the end of it. But you could see like my arms were like just like flat. My chest was flat, and the other one was last year. So it's probably like 6 or 7 years apart.
Wow.
And that was like legit the beginning of my calisthenics journey. And up to that, I feel like I've been heavier or I've been more muscular at some points than that. But yeah, definitely a big difference.
Yeah, would you say that's one of the like misconceptions of calisthenics? Like I know that I've heard that kind of thing before. Like you can't build body mass or muscle mass with body weight exercises. Like a lot of people have said that to me. Do you find that that's a thing that comes up often, or have people kind of
Yeah,
like, yeah?
yeah. A lot of people have that misconception, and I mean it I think it's a valid misconception because of how sort of media has portrayed fitness forever and ever,
Hmm.
um, or in the last little, like the last maybe 10, 20 years, that it's all about going to the gym and pumping iron and all that kind of stuff. And I think it is now shifting with the rise of things like this calisthenics, boutique gyms, like more community based gyms, that
Hmm.
and more sort of cross training boot camps and all that kind of stuff that are allowing people to sort of find different ways, or a more unique way to be in fitness, and it's not just being inside of a gym lifting weights. But it is a very common thing that I get. No, you can't build muscle. Yes, you can. You just
Yeah,
need to
that's
be patient.
yeah, that's why I love that
Yeah,
picture, man. That picture was awesome. That's why I used it. It was such a good. It said so many things in those two pictures, right?
thank you.
We kind of talked a little bit about females, just talking about my mom and Latin American culture, but I wanted to ask you, like, what's it like for the female athletes in your sport?
It's something that it's growing a lot. Like from the time I started, there was very little female presence, and now I feel like a lot more people are getting excited about that, about the fact that you see in competitions now there are women categories, and you see a lot more support within just the structure of calisthenics to allow for for females to progress in the sport.
Hmm.
I feel like there's a lot more involvement, and that has helped in getting that ball rolling. I still think we are very sort of early on,
Hmm.
and it's just maybe like the nature of what calisthenics has been forever, in terms of being used in sort of parks where it's majority guys, or being used in, like, calisthenics comes a lot from military and from prison workouts too, where it's just like dominantly guys. And
Yeah.
I understand that's kind of how it's been built up, but I do see a lot more females and a lot more women sort of getting into it. And I feel like this is happening, you know at a perfect time.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, like, does the programming change like between male and female? Like, because I know, like, as a coach working out of Academy Alliance once in a while, just looking at all the athletes, like if a guy's never done any fitness whatsoever, he'll go on a pull-up bar, and like most guys can pull themselves up. Almost the opposite for females, right? If they've never done any sort of fitness, they jump on a pull-up bar and they almost can't get a pull-up. So, I mean, that being said, does the programming change, or like how? And if so, how does it change?
I think the foundation is similar, and it's exactly the same, right? And I don't think it's a matter of male or female, but it's about levels at the end of the day. And I do think, I've seen women who are in a higher level than most guys, and so I don't think that the programming necessarily has to be different. The
Yeah.
one thing about calisthenics, though, is it's not as structured and as sort of um, well put together as CrossFit is, for example, when it
Hmm.
comes to programming, when it comes to competitions, when it comes to rules and regulations. The fact that CrossFit sort of stemmed from a single sort of entity and sort of spread from there gives it that power of being able to program in a very effective way, kind of across the board. But
Yeah.
for calisthenics, it hasn't been like that, and I think that's kind of one of my sort of future visions for calisthenics, especially being part of Calisthenics Canada, and sort of having that vision of like, okay, how can the programming be more effective for every single level, for every age group, for every sex group as well. And so that is something that I think, everyone who is in calisthenics is kind of thinking about.
Hmm.
But I don't think there is a difference in how you program things between guys and girls, but more between levels. Because yes, you're right. Like most guys maybe have that inherent sort of strength or upper body strength that allows them to maybe like try it in a better way.
Hmm.
I do think that you know just the world itself hasn't been like fair with the fact that, like, a lot of women approach a pull-up bar thinking already that they cannot do it, and that is a barrier that, it's more in the head than in the body, in a way that I think we don't need to have. you know
Yeah.
um a lot of women have that misconception, and it's like, okay, like, just take that away for a second and leverage what you got. So
Yeah. 100% agree, man. Society's just done not so nice things to our bodies and our brains, for sure.
yeah.
All right, man. Just to wrap things up, I wanted to ask you, if people want to reach out to you, if people want to get in touch with you, maybe do some training, like where would they go?
Yeah, so the main channel is on Instagram at Carlito. And then my website is fitcalisthenics.com. You can get all the information about my Never Skip Monday movement, about my online training, about my corporate fitness programs, and all that kind of stuff on there as well.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Love having you again. You're such an inspiration. So thank you so much. And, hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Hell yeah, man. Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And again, this is mere motivation, man. You doing things, getting out of your comfort zone, and inviting me to do this is amazing. So I appreciate it.
Thanks so much, brother. Take care, man.
Peace.
Remember to seize the moment.